Hello, sharp minds. A lot of news to discuss, so let me cut to the chase. Our first story comes from New York City, and this one comes from the Washington Post, where on January 23rd, 2019, a white supremacist from Baltimore pleaded guilty to fatally stabbing a black man in New York City with a sword, a crime officials say was the first of many attacks on black people he had planned before turning himself into authorities. James H. Jackson, age 30, pleaded guilty to 6 counts, including a murder and hate crime charge in the killing of Timothy Kaufman in March 2017 with a Roman short sword, the Associated Press reported. Jackson told detectives he traveled to New York for the purpose of killing black men. Police at the time says Jackson, who's a military veteran, picked New York because it's the media capital of the world and he wanted to make a statement. He traveled to the city from Baltimore using a Bolt bus, lodging at a midtown hotel for a few days before wandering through Manhattan. That's true, Jackson replied to Judge Laura Ward on Wednesday when asked whether he carried a sword and 2 knives as he stalked potential victims, according to the AP. Jackson would ultimately target 66-year-old Kaufman, a self-described bottle and can recycler who was sifting through the trash when he was stabbed multiple times. Kaufman went to a police station for help after the attack and was taken to a hospital where he died. Jackson faced life in prison without parole following his guilty plea, the AP reports. He will be sentenced February 13th, 2019. He turned himself in after killing Kaufman, telling officers in a Times Square police substation he was wanted for murder and recognized his own photo in the news reports. Police at Jackson gave statements that indicate the attack was clearly racially motivated. His long-standing feelings of resentment towards black men were further clarified in the criminal complaint, which states Jackson was angered by black men mixing with white women. In a jailhouse interview with the New York Daily News, published shortly after the killing, Jackson said he hoped his attack would deter white women from entering romantic relationships with black men. It's well over 10 years that he's been harboring these feelings of hate towards black men, Assistant Police Chief William Aubrey said at the time. The complaint further alleged that Jackson considered Kaufman's killing to be practiced before he went to Times Square, where he planned to kill more black men. Jackson told the Daily News he felt some regret after the attack, as he didn't know Kaufman was older. Instead, he told the publication he would have preferred to kill a young thug or a successful older black man who was with a blonde woman. He claims he had his first racist thoughts at age 3, ideals that later proliferated as he spent time on websites such as the Daily Stormer. Cyrus R. Vance Jr., the district attorney for Manhattan, said in a statement after the killing that Jackson had acted on his plan, randomly selected a beloved New Yorker solely on the basis of his skin color and stabbing him repeatedly and publicly on a midtown street corner. Numerous public officials spoke out against the hateful act. New York Mayor William de Blasio issued a statement calling the killing more than an unspeakable human tragedy and an assault on the city's inclusiveness and own diversity. Okay, our next story comes from LimaOhio.com. And on January 22nd, 2019, a Lima man was taken into custody after police say he stabbed his mother, sending her to the hospital with what was believed to be non-life-threatening injuries. According to Sergeant Jason Garlock of the Lima Police Department, officers were summoned at approximately 4:45 p.m. to 1157 Rice Ave, Apartment 2, and found Erica Hathaway, 44, suffering from knife wounds. She was transported to Mercy Health St. Rita's Medical Center for treatment of unspecified injuries. Taken into custody was her son, Grayson Merchant, 24, of Lima. He was charged with suspicion of felonious assault. According to police, a verbal argument ensued between the mother and son. The argument escalated, and Merchant reportedly retrieved a samurai-type sword and stabbed Hathaway on the right side of her torso. There's no mention into what type of sword he stabbed her with. Also, it does not say what they were arguing about. Okay, our third story comes to us from uptoboston.com, and it's in Medford, Massachusetts, where an 18-year-old has been charged with the alleged stabbing of a Medford delivery driver with a samurai sword. According to officials, the incident happened in Medford, Massachusetts. The suspect was held with no bail on Tuesday, January 22nd, 2019. Nicholas Davis, age 18, is currently facing charges of armed assault murder, according to reports. The story goes like this. Davis ordered food from May's Cafe on January 12, 2019. He had the food delivered to the address he was at on Washington Street. When the delivery man came to the door, Davis allegedly stabbed him with a samurai sword he had on hand. The victim's name was Lang Cheng, a 42-year-old delivery man from the cafe. According to reports, the delivery man was stabbed from behind. Police state that Davis had taken money out of Chang's pockets while he was lying on the ground. An investigation sparked immediately after the incident happened, and investigators were led to the address on Washington Street after tracing the delivery order's number. Davis' arraignment was scheduled for this past Monday, January 21st, 2019. According to prosecutors, Davis had tried to place a food order at May's Cafe earlier in the day, too. When the first delivery man appeared at the door, he immediately became nervous and left the house without completing the delivery. It doesn't state why he got nervous or if Davis had done anything. Anyways, Davis admitted to the police that he'd stolen $200 from Cheng's pants pocket after allegedly stabbing him with the samurai sword. It did not say what kind of samurai sword it was. According to police, Cheng had immediately dialed 911, to which he stated he was lying on the ground with stab wounds. When police arrived, Cheng was lying on the ground. The stab wounds were found on his lower back. Once Cheng was transported to a nearby hospital, he was rushed into surgery. The hospital had to complete a 6-hour surgery, to which they had to remove his kidney and gallbladder. A GoFundMe account was set up shortly after the incident to try and help Chang and his family out with the hospital recovery bills. Within 1 week, the account raised approximately $11,000 to help the situation. I know we don't have a lot of subscribers, but I'm going to link the GoFundMe just in case anybody wants to give some money to this poor man. Fourth story comes from earlier this evening, and it comes from KTUU.com. And in Anchorage, Alaska, one man was injured and another is in custody after a stabbing at the Fifth Avenue Mall Sunday evening. It all started when two men, whom Anchorage police say knew each other, got into an argument in the mall's food court, which is on the fourth floor. Police say mall security officers intervened and escorted one of the men, who police say later became the victim, off the property. That man returned and confronted the suspect male again in the food court. Police say the suspect then drew a knife and stabbed the victim once in the upper chest. Um, the victim was then able to grab a sword from the suspect, swing it at him, and causing a superficial wound on the suspect's leg, according to police. The two continued their confrontation down to the third floor, where they separated. At this point, two police officers on foot patrol in the mall's parking garage came into contact with the suspect, who was carrying an axe and swords. He ran, but the officers were able to catch him and take him into custody. Police say wounds are non-life-threatening and there are no other injuries. The victim was transported to the hospital for treatment. The suspect's name and charges will be available tomorrow. Okay, that's all the sword news we have for today, and tune in next week where I'm sure we'll have even more sword news as people really like to stab each other with swords. Anyways, thank you, and good night, good fight, and good light.